This is a unique podcast exploring the criminal justice system and those involved and affected. We'll educate and expose the public as well as potential jurors to what takes place behind the scenes of those who are facing the system. Your host owns a litigation support firm called Justice Technology Professionals, and he works on criminal and civil cases offering support to defendants and counsel. What you're about to hear is an open dialogue, opening the minds to the public to what takes place in reality as opposed to what you think takes place. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Justice Tech Pros podcast. Here's your host, Dominick Crea.
Hello, listeners. Hope everybody enjoyed their day today. I'm doing a little late night impromptu episode. I had no plans of doing an episode, but I saw something today, recently, that was quite disturbing to me. And I wanted to see how I could cover it and make it an episode where it could be just something for the audience to think about and something for the audience to be aware of. What I'm going to show today is not a little bit, it's quite disturbing. So I just want to warn everybody, if you want to call it like a disclaimer. It's some disturbing images. And I'm going to explain what I'm showing, and I'm going to get into why I'm showing it. And this episode's really going to be about how far can these lying informants go. And that's really what it's all about. It's about how far can the degeneracy go. I've pointed out and I've seen personally so many lie at the expense of others, put innocent people away based on lies because they don't want to be accountable for their own wrongdoings. This is another level of hitting rock bottom, what I'm going to show you and what I'm going to talk about. I don't like to get personal where I talk about I talk about names and things of that nature. I'm going to keep it as general as I can, especially because the majority of my listeners and subscribers aren't really familiar with different genres and what goes on and what people do in different genres. So I try to appeal to the public each and every time as if they're trying to understand something from scratch, trying to understand the chain of events so they have a clear picture of what I'm trying to convey. And today what I'm trying to convey is the point that, as we know and I've spoken about and was one of the reasons for the We PUSHBACK movement, there has been an influx of lying informants on YouTube, podcasts, and also other podcasts, really making the tour of fame, I like to call it, where they try to get famous by doing all these different shows, doing all these different interviews, going on as many shows, rewriting history, telling lies, making themselves look like the craziest, toughest person in the world, and everybody else is a loser. And to follow up with that, as if that wasn't bad enough, now you have an instance which I'm going to show you what some of the family members of the defendants go through. What I'm going to show you today is an example of how low these lying informants will go. Now, this specific example, this is not the first time this lying informant has acted in this manner. From what I understand, he is being sued by an individual for things of this nature, for putting up memes. I generate a lot of memes on social media, including Instagram, painting this person in a horrible light, slandering them, attacking them. So they're in litigation for that. I don't know the details. It's not my business, but that's pretty much the basis of it. There was an existing issue where a lying informant was pretty much tormenting somebody, and that person had enough and decided to take it the legal route to get some justice in that way, and just to really hold people accountable. Now, what I'm going to show you today is some more memes have been put up on social media, on Instagram, and these memes have reached a new level of low. There's really any words that I can use on here to describe it. I have a lot of colorful language I'd like to use to describe it and to describe these people, but I don't want to do that on here. I try to keep things as clean as I can, language-wise, and that's just my style. Trust me, I could curse like the best of them. in my private life and with my friends. I'm sure I drop some colorful language, but on here I try to keep that out. With that said, again, I'm going to warn you, what I'm going to show you is very disturbing. As a father, it's extremely disturbing, and as a human being, anybody with a conscience would find this disturbing. What this is I'm going to show you 4 horrible images, okay, and I'm going to explain the context of it. What we have here is on Instagram, you have a page called Mob Rats Revenge 2. What they decided to do on this page is take somebody's brother who was deceased. Tragically, this poor little boy lost his life. He was 12 years old in a tragic bike accident. He was on a bike and he got hit by a car and lost his life. I can't think of anything more horrific. My heart goes out to the family, always. And so what this degenerate decided to do, this lying informant decided to take this person and put memes together using their images. They decided to take this little boy, put his face, I blocked all that out because I don't believe in showing the faces or the names, but I'm going to start with this image. I blocked this, the boy's face was here, the boy who's unfortunately deceased, and I put the deceased child's picture. This is the brother of the individual I was talking about that's currently in litigation suing a lying informant for similar memes. This is that same individual. This is their brother. And this is what they're doing to torment the family. So now this lady's mom has to see this image. Now remember, what does this lady do to warrant this? Well, she decided to not deal with having her family lied upon. She decided to start a platform. She's also a member of PUSHBACK. She has her own podcast, her own platform. And she decided to use that platform to call out the lies and to stick up for her family. So I guess these lying informants are so offended by that because they were the only ones who were allowed to be on YouTube. They were the only ones allowed to bash family members, abuse family, abuse defendants, abuse anybody they want, make up lies about defendants, make themselves look in the best light and make everybody else look like a piece of garbage. They're allowed to do that. Now, if a defendant's family member or somebody who cares about them or a defense team wants to speak up about it and say, no, you're lying about this, you're lying about that, and kind of offer another side to those things, this is what they're subjected to. Okay, so now this lying informant decided they don't like this person talking. They don't like this person calling out lies or talking about them, whatever it may be. The same way now, remember, they've been on podcasts for years, bashing people, playing tough guys, playing paper gangsters, crazy, they'll kill everybody, all their war stories, right? For years, episode after episode. I've yet to find an episode where they don't abuse somebody in one way or another, whether it's a defendant or a friend of the defendant or a family member. So they're allowed to do that. Somebody comes out and wants to defend their family, wants to talk about their story, talk about what they know to be true, give their side of things, and this is what they're subjected to. So now you have this poor deceased child, and as I said, he tragically died on a motorbike. So what do these lowlifes do? They put him on a meme on a motorbike. They put his name here. It says his name takes a ride. And then they show the aftermath in a disgusting, repulsive way. There's blood on the floor. There's the tape. I mean, it's even horrible to even describe. I even don't even like describing it. I feel weird even describing it, to be honest with you. And it almost makes me second guess if I should even cover this, but I feel it's so important, and I feel the way I'm doing it, I'm going to be as respectful as possible. I'm blocking out names, I'm blocking out faces, so I think I'm going to do it justice, and I think I'm doing the right thing. It feels right. I hope I'm doing the right thing. I think it's very important for the public to see what goes on, what family members have to endure, even after their loved one is put away and is in jail. And now we have another image, and here they put this poor little boy's face again. I blocked it out. They have somebody driving. I don't know who that was. his name went here, and it said this person goes for a ride. So what are they insinuating, right? Degenerate, lowlife. Now over here you have the actual. This is the defendant. There was a defendant, a high-profile defendant. This is their daughter, and they decided to take the daughter, put her in this image. I took her face out, of course. They're obviously showing that this person's a junkie, shooting up heroin or whatever. They're in like what looks like a crack den, just really trying to abuse and torment this person. And I put defendant's daughter because this person is unfortunately their father was involved in high-profile cases and went away to jail and passed away while serving time. And so they took this defendant's daughter and they put her in there. And a lot of the times I feel they do that. If a defendant has a big name, they'll try to attach themselves to that name, all for likes and subs and all that nonsense. So I noticed they try to torment certain family members where they think they could get the most views and the most likes. But all of that's irrelevant, people, on who it is, who the person is. You have to look at these things from a human perspective, from a potential juror perspective. Now, I know when you go into court, you see these informants all dressed up, talking very polite, being very humble, and they were very prepared for that appearance and for that performance. But a lot of jurors will buy into it and they'll think they're being told an honest account of events. Well, not only, as I've proven time and again on all of my episodes, do these informants lie, but when they're done with that, when they're done with their charade in the courtroom, they move on to their second phase of life. And in that second phase of life, it includes trying to make money off of other people's names, trying to make money off of lies, trying to make money off of this fake persona that they try to impose onto people to have people believe they were tough, they were crazy, they were a man's man, all the BS, when the bottom line is they're just low-life, lying informants, don't have a backbone, didn't have a backbone, could not be self-accountable, and just wanted somebody else to take the blame for their own misdeeds. So they decide to create a Instagram page, right? And put up all these disgusting, degenerate images. And even more surprising is they get followers. They have people equally as vile following them, liking the pages, subscribing to them. I don't know how many followers this page has. I didn't even look at it. I don't want to see it. I don't even know if it's public or private. I don't want to know anything about it. But just the mere fact that it exists and there are people following it, and I'd imagine lowlifes liking these images, it goes to show the type of evil that's out there, folks. And we're not talking about a judgment call here. If you have any type of conscience, this is degenerate evil stuff. Okay? And I noticed in this image, in this picture, they had two little boys. Now, I don't know who this little boy is, but I could tell by the image it's a real picture. It wasn't part of like the original meme. I could tell they put a picture on, so that tells me it's somebody else's kid. So that's why I blocked it out as well. I was not going to have any faces on here. So again, I feel terrible for whoever's parents of this little boy are, because again, tragic. Why are they in here? Why'd they get stuffed into this meme? And it's horrible. So let me walk you through this one. This one again has the boy's name who tragically died on that accident. This was his image here. They have his name and it says he takes his last ride. Okay, right there alone. What a degenerate piece of garbage statement, right? And it says, and you're next, and it had another boy's name here, which I'm assuming is this little boy again. I don't know who he is, and I'm really sorry for the father and mother. That's all I could say. I don't have words for something this low. That's just terrible. This is on a whole nother level. I don't care who the parents are. Nobody deserves to have the kid thrown into this publicly on an Instagram page. And then this image is this little boy's grandfather, who is the defendant I was talking about, the high-profile defendant. They put his image. So this gentleman lost his grandson. He's no longer with us, but they're using his image, his grandson's image, to mock basically the day this poor kid lost his life. Now think about that, folks. There's family at play. There's real human beings at play here. You have a grandmother who has to look at this. You have uncles who have to look at this. You have family friends who have to look at this. So not only do they have to be haunted every day of their life based on this tragedy, because something like this never leaves a family. Never goes away. Especially for the mother, never goes away, this type of pain. The siblings, just doesn't disappear. So not only do they have to live with that pain, now they have to be subjected to somebody mocking their pain, making fun of their loved one, a 12-year-old little innocent boy, making fun of him. And again, whoever degenerate is, they insert 2 little boys. So just think about that. How can you have the conscience to actually make a meme like this? I don't care how much you hate somebody. Listen, there's a lot of lying informants on here that there's no love lost on my end, and I feel about them pretty much the same way they feel about me. I would never stoop to this level. That's not even inside me. That kind of thought would never even cross my mind. Their family has nothing to do with this. I would never put their family in harm's way. It has nothing to do with them. Nothing at all to do with them. My issues happen to be with the individuals, and that's who I deal with. So think about the lack of conscience somebody has, because they probably didn't make this alone. They probably had help. Like I said, they have followers, so there's people who's actually following this and liking this degeneracy. So I'm sure there's a crew behind this. There's probably this informant's friends helping them, or whoever's helping them. There's a lot of behind the scenes that probably went on to make this come together. So think about the lack of conscience in those individuals. And this will show you, I always watch a show called Evil Lives Here. It's a good show, and it shows really sick, demented people, and it gives you an insight into how evil somebody could be and what goes on within somebody's mind who is unstable. And I find that stuff fascinating. I like to know the psychology of things and what makes people do certain things. And I have no answer for this. I don't know what could make somebody do something like this. It's how you're brought up, and the only word I have for it is just you're an evil person. You're a low-life, degenerate, evil person. For your conscience to even allow you to write these things, to use these images, to take images of a dead kid who died tragically, and the family's grieving over that no matter how long it's been, that pain never goes away. Never goes away. Unfortunately, I know some people who lost children, and they're never the same. They're never the same. And to actually go through the steps, how heartless can you be? And that's just a ruthless, heartless, low-life degenerate that doesn't deserve anything good in their life. Nothing good in their life. They deserve the misery that they bring onto other people. That's really what they deserve. And I think that's what's most disturbing when you realize and you understand, and that's my message for future jurors. Don't always believe that person in front of you who's claiming to have this changed life and decided to be an informant because they're now a good guy. Look deeper into it. And this is one instance. This is probably the lowest level I've seen an informant go. I got to be honest. I don't think I've seen an informant go any lower than this. But what I want to do is a future project of mine is I want to do a compilation. I just want to show all the behaviors of these lying informants so the public sees this isn't an isolated incident. This isn't a one-time thing. This is their behavior. In the majority of them, this is their behavior. I'm going to put together all the different comments they made, threatening people, saying bad things about women, clips from their podcast where they're making fun. I had one defendant I'm going to put where he's making fun of his ex, mocking her. I want to show the different informants on how they talk, how they threaten people. I had informants threaten me. I just want to show that it's not one informant, it's not two informants, it's not three informants. This is a pattern. All these lying informants have a pattern. And when you're dealing with a liar, they're dangerous, dangerous people. There's nothing worse than a liar. It's a very dangerous person. I shouldn't say there's nothing worse. There's a lot worse, but you know what I mean. It's a bad trait to have. And this is even beyond that. Here's a prime example. This is just a low-life degenerate. This is worse than a liar. This is just a piece of garbage individual that has no soul. And they have no conscience that just kind of tells them, hey, you're going too far. Think about it, right? You want to do certain things sometimes, and you're like, that doesn't really jive. Don't do that. Even myself, if I get mad sometimes, I want to react, and I'm like, I'm going to say this and do that. And then I think about it. I'm like, that's not really your character. Don't do something like that. And it's nowhere near the scope of this bottom of the barrel degenerate filth. I'm talking more about language and things like that. And, I could definitely have a colorful language. I don't use it on here because it's not the format, but I'm no saint. You hear me in my private life or with my friends, I'm sure I say a lot of choice words. It's just not the format for it here. I don't use it here. But to describe these images, if I wanted to be brutally honest, to describe what I think about the person who made these images, honestly, I'd probably be cursing every other word. Every other word I'd probably be cursing. So I'm not going to do that. So the best I could come up with is garbage, pale, low life, and degenerate. That's the best I could come up with without really going and saying what I want to say. I wanted to do this episode because I just felt it's an important episode to memorialize. It's important for the public, for potential jurors, for people who say are against We Push Back. I understand you don't like it. You like informants. I get all that. We could agree to disagree on that. I have a different perspective on it. I make it known, but that's fine. But if you're a human, you have any kind of compassion or empathy, this is not acceptable on any level. This is not acceptable on any level. As I said, this shouldn't be done to anybody. Not anybody. Not the lying informant's family. Nobody. This is unacceptable behavior. And this just shows society and some of the members of society, folks. And that's what's scary. A lot of those members who think like that, who conducts themselves in this manner, they wind up being a juror. Now, when they say juror of your peers, I don't know about you, but they're definitely not my peer if these are the things they could align with and do. And that's what's scary. You don't know who you're going to get on the jury. Is it one of the people who follows a page like this? Is it one of the individuals who likes these type of images? That's what's scary, folks. And that's what I try to have people look at and understand and grasp that although the system sounds like a great system, it doesn't play out the way it's written on paper. Because you have to factor in the human aspect of things, and you have to factor in the character of people who taint it and change it from what the initial intentions of the justice system are. And when you have people who lie at all costs for their own freedom and to avoid any kind of punishment that they may have wind up getting if they didn't inform onto a bigger target, these are the things you got to be aware of. These are the things that need to make you think, well, what kind of human being could do this? Well, there are people like that who do it, and here's a prime example. And this is on Instagram. Again, you don't get any more bottom of the barrel than this. And I was hesitant to even do this episode, but I felt I had to do it. I felt I wanted to memorialize this. I wanted to really spotlight their behavior and what they do. And this should not be anything on any level to anybody with an ounce of humanity in this system that is okay, that is not that big a deal. This is a big deal. This is degeneracy at its finest. This is a problem. And this is why when I see things like this, I get even more motivated for We Push Back, for my podcast, for what I could do in my spare time to bring attention to these things. So images like this, actions like this truly spark a fire in me to respond in the proper way. We all want to respond in different ways when you see things like this, but I'm pretty good with controlling my emotions and responding in the right way and using my brains to respond and not my heart. And that's the key I found for being the most effective. You have to respond with your brain and not your heart. That's the only way you could be effective. That's the only way you could really connect with the public. Because the public won't always be able to relate to your emotion. Sometimes you'll sound crazy. People will be like, "Ah, he's a crazy person." So you got to try to keep that at bay. I know it's hard. And you got to try to respond and strategize in a way where you're pulling on your brain power and not your heart and not your emotion. And it's not easy. I know it's not easy. But it's a necessity. So again, I'm going to take this down. I don't even like looking at it. I even feel, honestly, I don't even feel right showing it and explaining it. It bothers me. But I feel I've done it in a respectful manner, and I think I've got the point across. I think it's an important episode. It's not really an episode that I'm proud of in the sense that the educational value of it or the information, but I think the message is very powerful. I'm proud of it in that sense. When I say I'm not proud of it, I just mean that the content bothers me to have to even address it. That's what I mean. It just bothers me to have to address it. But it's very important, and I feel it's very important for the public to see these things and just to weigh these things and to understand that this tends to be a pattern with these lying informants, and this is the behavior you're seeing exhibited by these lying informants. And on a continued basis. This isn't a one-up type thing. This goes on. These pages go on every day. There's podcasts that go on every day where these informants are bashing people, mocking people, abusing people, using somebody's family member as an image. I had an informant, again, he thinks he's smart, but he's really not. He's not too bright. You listen to it for 5 minutes, you could tell the IQ isn't there. But they think they're going to get a rise out of me. They'll use my father's image, and they'll say some nasty stuff, and they'll try to abuse him. I know what they're doing. They're trying to get under my skin, but it's going to take a lot more than that. If they're going to do a battle of the wits, I'm sorry, but they're pretty outmatched in that department. And if that sounds arrogant, yeah, when it comes to these lying informants, I'm pretty arrogant. I know I'm a better person than them on every level. So I find those feeble attempts, those elementary attempts, funny to me. The attempts they do are funny to me. See this? This isn't funny. What I just showed you, that's not funny. That's degenerate. That's low life. What they tried doing to me, that's funny. That's entertaining. That's the best they got with their stupid insults, and they'll try to attack my father, and they'll try to say nasty things. And that's anybody could do that. That's easy. That's for the Neanderthals. Remember the episode I did on We Push Back on Neanderthals? That's for their brain. That's how they respond to things. But I wanted to talk about this because this is important, and this is important for the public to see. And I want the public to let this digest and just try to put yourselves in the defendant's family shoes. Now, I'm not saying to put yourself in the defendant's shoes, because I know a lot of people think, well, if they're a criminal, they deserve whatever. I know people think like that. So put yourself in the family shoes. Say you have a family member who's away, did something, and somebody testified against them, and now you have to endure this. They're away, maybe they're no longer with us, or they're in jail, they're sitting in jail, and now you're on the outside and you have to endure this. And what amazes me, with these lying informants, they call their big brother and big sister, the government, for every little thing. You would think that the government would have a better handle on what they're doing, even their handlers. They spend all this money on these informants. I've shown statistics. Go to WePushBack.com. $500 million 1 year on informants. And you mean to tell me they don't know what they're doing? They don't tell them you can't be on the internet, you can't be mocking family members, you can't be doing that. And it goes back to what I always say. Imagine defendant's family doing that. Imagine I was making memes of these informants' family. First off, I would never do that. That's degenerate. So I won't even say that about myself. But let me say this. Imagine I was making memes about the informants. Just all crazy memes. And you don't think I'd have a situation for that? Of course I would. Of course I would. But they're allowed to do that. Not only are they allowed to do that, they're not even picking on the defendants they testified against. They're picking on family members. They're picking on little boys, 12-year-old boys. Imagine that. Just think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Regardless of what side you're on of things, just think about that concept. I think anybody with an ounce of humanity could come together on that concept, that that's unacceptable on any level, and a lying informant should not have the ability to do that, and they should be monitored more closely to prevent that. Because what course does when you think about it, what course does the victim of these things really have? They got to go the legal route. They got to get tied up in the legal system. It goes on. And from what I understand, this individual is already in litigation, and this is still going on? You mean to tell me this person's in litigation and they still don't have a handle on it? They still can't prevent these things from popping up? I just don't get it. I just don't get how things are run. The priorities in this government are all switched around. All switched around. You can't have favorites. You can't have your little informant buddy favorite and you protect them and let them run rampant and do whatever they want. It's not supposed to work that way. Okay, I get it. the informant helped you build your case, helped you get the target you want. But come on, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. This is a fracture in the system. There has to be much more processes in order, rules and regulations when it comes to these informants. There has to be. And I think that's going to be a topic in the future. Especially we put in a Rule 33, and it's going to be part of our appeal of what goes on these podcasts and the inconsistencies and whatnot. I think that's going to spark a lot of changes on what they're allowed to do on these podcasts. Because it's the only Rule 33 I heard of or any motion related to a podcast in any of these cases. We were able to use their words to show how they conduct themselves after the trial. Now, obviously, for an appeal, you have to use it in a different way. It's not really about their behavior. It's about the lies and stuff. But my point just is, I think that's going to spark interest with members of the government who are really going by the law and just trying to do their job and trying to honor the Constitution. I think it's going to spark them to say, well, what's going on? This isn't right. We can't allow this. But right now, this is what goes on. So when people ask about we push back and why it's important, and then you get people, oh, it's nonsense. No, it's not nonsense. This is why it's important. And things like that show me even more so how important it is and motivate me even more so to make sure I can maximize my efforts to do what I can to get it the exposure it needs. When I see things like this, it starts a fire in me. It's the fuel to that fire. And I was out tonight. I had no intentions of doing an episode probably till next week. But when I saw these images, again, I just knew I had to do something. I had to talk about it, and I had to let the public know, let my listeners know of what goes on. So you ask, how far could these lying informants go? Here's a snapshot of how far they're willing to go. Till next time.
You've been listening to the Justice Tech Pros podcast with Dominick Crea, one of the most unique podcasts on the internet, discussing the obstacles the defense team faces when trying a case, what goes on behind the scenes during pretrial and motion phase, holding defense attorneys accountable, making sure they're fighting for their clients, the difference between textbook law and how things truly play out in a courtroom, and everything in between. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show, and we'll be back soon. Until then, find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Justice Tech Pros. To email the show with questions and comments, it's podcast@justicetechpros.com. Till next time, this is Justice Tech Pros Podcast and Dominick Crea signing off.